But first, the FBI is expanding its investigation into Hillary Clinton, and they're not just looking at her emails anymore. Joining me now, Katrina Pearson, Tammy Bruce, Jillian Melcher, and Judith Miller. Hey, Tammy, I want to start with you.
Sure.
Apparently now, what we're looking at, what the FBI is looking at, is the relationship between Hillary Clinton's time at the State Department, Bill Clinton's speeches, the Clinton Foundation, and what may not have gone through, the money involved. In other words, what everybody else was looking at, now it's becoming more official, according to several sources.
Look, it's corruption throughout the system with her, right? This is about the commingling of money and power with her personal life versus what she was doing with the United States of America as her position there. And the issue becomes this, that when you set up a server, an email server, the presumption is it's to keep protected something, to hide something. And that means, of course, you have something to hide. And her issue now, it's not just one issue, it's not just that issue, but the things as they build up. And this is something that Americans understand, that this is about problems with power and power corrupting and how it affects your personal life and issues of ethics.
Hold on one second, ladies, because the person who helped break this, Catherine Herridge, with Fox News, our Washington correspondent, is on with us now.
Great.
Hey, Catherine, we're glad to have you. We'd like to have, give us more, first of all, give us the details on this, and then let us know what Clinton had to say about it, Hillary Clinton had to say about it today.
That's right. Well, thank you, Charles. Well, based on our reporting, and this came to us through 3 intelligence sources. So these are 3 different individuals who were familiar with the circumstances of the FBI investigation. They confirmed to us that there were now 2 tracks. There was the track we're very familiar with involving the classified information that was found on her server in this personal email that she used to conduct State Department business. And then the second track specifically looked at possible corruption violations. And in this case, the intersection between donors to the Clinton Foundation and how those donors or their countries or organizations were treated in terms of getting State Department contracts. In simple terms, did the people who give money to the foundation, did they have kind of an inside track or more favorable outcomes when it came to the contracts? This is not a new idea. Author Peter Schweitzer wrote at length about it last year in his book, Clinton Cash. Our understanding is that this public corruption piece has been going on since about the spring of last year. We heard from Mrs. Clinton this afternoon. She was asked about our reporting by the Iowa Register, the editorial board there. And significantly what she said is that she had not been contacted by the FBI and that she said our reporting was unfounded. Here's what's misleading about those statements. Number one, there is no way that she could know that there was no investigation, because the FBI is under no obligation to notify you that you are the subject of an investigation. The only group that has a responsibility to notify you is a prosecuting authority. So that is way down the chain. So it would be the Justice Department. And they send your attorney what's called a target letter. And this gives you an opportunity to come in and explain your side of the story. So based on what Mrs. Clinton said to the Des Moines Register, this to me sounds a lot like the explanation on the emails that nothing was marked classified, when if you know the process, you understand that it doesn't matter whether a message is marked classified or not. It's the quality of the content that matters. And in this particular case, there's no obligation on the FBI to tell Mrs. Clinton that she's the subject of the investigation. And she seems to be relying on the fact that the reporters who are covering her on the politics piece of this just simply are not familiar with the process, Charles.
Catherine Herridge, Fox News Chief Intelligence Correspondent. Thank you very much. We really appreciate this. I want to get back to the panel. Judith, listen, Hillary Clinton, Bill Clinton, they know how to play with words, but this seems to be very serious stuff. They cannot dodge it, and it's echoing louder and louder.
Yes, of course it's serious, Charles and Tammy. And Catherine is a superb reporter. But there's a big difference between the appearance of conflict of interest and an actual conflict, a criminal conflict. And the fact of the matter is, from all of the reporting that I've seen, of all of the individuals, companies, and countries that gave money to the Clinton Foundation, I haven't so far seen one instance in which Hillary Clinton actually did anything at the State Department to advance the interests of those people. And that's what it's going to take for something to be criminal. So I think we're really rushing to judgment.
I get it. Maybe some of those donors have buyer's remorse, but certainly it's pretty curious, Jillian, where Bill Clinton would get $500,000 for a speech here, $600,000 for a speech there. And by the way, an interesting correlation between the time Hillary was at state and his speaking fees went through the roof.
Absolutely. And I think we've got to look at the timing of this corruption investigation, too. Fox News reporting it began around April 2015. Well, you know what else happened in April 2015 is the New York Times bombshell story about Clinton Foundation donations and the uranium deal, the Russian uranium deal, suggesting that that may have potentially played a part in, Russia getting this Uranium One thing.
Sure.
So I think that timing is not a coincidence.
Yeah, I mean, there was some interesting timing, Katrina, with respect to the Keystone Pipeline, which some people say is why there's been a flip-flop, sort of Ford at state. Now she's a candidate, not Ford. And some of the other things, I think a Nigerian newspaper paying $600,000 for a speech. Very curious stuff. This, of course, is something that whoever the ultimate GOP candidate is, including your guy, Donald Trump, going to hit on pretty hard.
Well, absolutely, and this will play out in the court of public opinion, considering that there were over $40 million from foreign governments like Algeria, Oman, Qatar, and hundreds of millions of dollars from foreign entities from shipping and energy, you name it, Charles. But there is another question here, because she has been out on the campaign trail talking about Boko Haram being a terrorist organization, but when she was as Secretary of State, she wouldn't declare them as such at the same time, receiving $5 million from a Nigerian businessman. So I think there's going to be a lot of lines to be drawn here.
Judith?
No, look, there's no doubt that when Hillary said she was going to avoid even the appearance of a conflict of interest,
is it too late for that?
That's gone. Yeah. But I want to stress again, you've got to distinguish between appearance and actual criminal conflict.
And this is where we get right back to the email server. When they were able to recover those emails that were deleted, they clearly are looking at things that we haven't even seen yet. They're looking at the nature of the exchanges, then what occurred at the same timeline. This is where the FBI is getting all excited, to seeing enough to where it's public now that this investigation is moving forward. So there are things that they're seeing that they're determining are serious enough to move it from, they're looking at espionage issues, and now it's about enriching her own family while being in her position as the Secretary of State.
It's just hard to say that this thing doesn't look like, it just looks bad. And I got to tell you something, adding fuel to the fire. Earlier this morning, I spoke with author Ed Klein to discuss with him what he thinks is now the end. He says he's calling this now the end of the Clinton era.
Now, I have a feeling, I can't prove this, that the walls are starting to close in on the Clintons, and we may be seeing a hinge of political history right now in which we're seeing the final days of the Clintons.
In the latest NBC Wall Street Journal poll in New Hampshire, Sanders is ahead of Clinton by 4 points, 50 to 46. And in Iowa, she's only got a 3-point lead, 48 to 45. So Bernie Sanders looking like a more serious threat than ever before. I got to tell you, Judith, it feels like perhaps she's got this Teflon coating, but when you look closer and closer, it seems to also be eroding at her foundation as well.
I think always the issue for Hillary has been one of trust and lack of trust, and that's her vulnerability. She seems to act as if the rules that apply to everyone, to you and me, do not apply to her or her husband. That's a political problem. It is not a criminal problem.
Well, we'll see about the criminal stuff, but right now she is running for president of the United States. So the court of public opinion, and Jillian, is somewhat important.
It's hugely important, and I think we've got her being dishonest provably in 2 instances. We've got her not being upfront and not being honest about her email. And now with the Clinton Foundation stuff, I mean, she was saying we're going to avoid any appearance of this. She didn't do it. She was saying we're going to disclose all of this information. Well, you know what? We've got 2013 disclosures. That's a bit late. I think we've just got a lot of information that's not come out yet, but the information that has come out, voters don't like it. I have a lot of young Democrat friends who are fed up with Hillary, like Bernie Sanders. It is a trust issue.
Katrina, and I guess the big question now is just how much interference the Obama administration will provide for Hillary. Of course, we know that her relationship with Valerie Jarrett isn't that great. Perhaps that's why she's in this much hot water to begin with.
That's right.
By the same token, though, to have a fractured candidate like that, we heard last week where Joe Biden said he regrets not getting in. Some think that was a sort of hint. We hear it where, listen, President Obama himself has been reluctant, has resisted even endorsing anyone so far.
Well, and aside from the server and aside from the Clinton Foundation, we still have Benghazi and the fact that she lied about what actually happened there. There's a movie coming out tomorrow that's going to tell a whole other side of that story. So I do think that this is a very serious problem for Hillary Clinton, and I think this is the end of the Clinton era. And with a fractured candidate like this, whether it's with trust or whether it's the emails or any kind of corruption, I don't think the Democrat Party wants to put all their eggs in that basket right now. This is a very serious election, and a lot of people on the Democrat side as well as the Republican side really want someone that's an outsider that can't be tied into all of this nonsense.
I got to tell you, I know Bernie Sanders is a career politician, but he comes across as the outsider, crazy uncle dude. And he's actually polling better against the Republicans, far better than Hillary is. Judith, you know these people. Could they actually say, okay, Hillary, you are damaged goods. We can't protect you into the election? Would they go with the Sanders, or would they send out a sort of SOS for Biden or Elizabeth Warren?
No, they're not going. It's really too late for that. And actually, Bernie Sanders is just a reflection of how far the Democratic Party has moved to the left. The fact that young people and very old people seem to love Bernie Sanders, but he is the source of jokes on Saturday Night Live. She is going to be the candidate, barring an indictment or something that hasn't become public to this point.
Katrina brought up the movie. Has anyone seen the movie or anything? Because from what I understand, the movie in Benghazi doesn't mention Hillary Clinton once. Again, Michael Bay, it's a Michael Bay movie, right? I'm not sure where he is on a political aisle, but it would be interesting to see if Hollywood is going to do a movie on this very, I think it's an amazing movie, an amazing time to put it out there, but it would be sort of disingenuous if they don't mention her name.
One thing they didn't do was have the word Benghazi in the title. Yeah. That in and of itself told you that it's more of a story. They are maybe hoping people see it just as an action movie. And also, when you're dealing with Hillary running for president, people say, even Bret Baier show, over the last couple of times they've addressed this, is that Hillary's going to get away with this and she's going to survive because Bill did. The fact is, though, Bill had the power of the office. He had the power of the incumbency. She doesn't. And Bill was liked. Frankly, she is not.
And real quick,
and he had the media on his side.
Here's a Democratic presidential preference poll. This is for Iowa. You can see Hillary Clinton at 48, Bernie Sanders at 45. Essentially a tie when you take in the sort of polling discrepancies. Go ahead, Katrina.
No, I was just saying, and also the media has covered for the Clintons for a very long time. So that's not going to be the case this time. There's far greater media out there and other sources of media that's going to be willing to get out there and remind people of things that they may not have heard the last go-around.
All right, speaking of which, guys, we've got a new Fox News poll that asks, who's more respectful of women, Donald Trump or Bill Clinton? Tweet me your thoughts on this. This is a heated situation, another big-time incident that's not going to go away. Tweet me. I'm at CV Payne. We'll be right back.
You'd win.